Hello, it's me, Jazz, and welcome to Tea and Spirits. Today we're going to be exploring a message from the Akashic Records. Okay, we're going to pull one card to kind of focus us from this roomy deck. So it's very dreamy, very mystical, and that'll focus us. Then we will look at some messages from the tea leaves and then clarify with tarot. So let's see. We have the Cloak of Christ. Now, remember when it comes to this, like, you don't have to be a specific believer of any specific path. Mysticism is about the underlying truth beneath all paths. So, the Cloak of Christ is about the unending love, right? It's about the idea of Christ consciousness. So basically, your Akashic record message today has something to do with agape. Agape is that love that flows through everything, that love that ends all things, the love that surpasses all understanding. It's called different things in different cultures. Maybe it's Tao, maybe it's caritas, maybe it's eros, maybe it's agape. There's a lot of different kinds of love, but this is the love, Ein Sof, the all, God, Christ consciousness flowing through. And so there's just a really strong message of remembering that you are made of love manifested into physical reality. And we're going to explore more about that, but I'm also getting the message of, with the cloak part, is that you are covered, you are safe, you are within the arms of this love, even when you can't feel it, right? You might feel disconnected from it, and the world will sometimes try to convince us that we are disconnected from that love and we're isolated from it, but we're never isolated from it. Nothing can take that love away. Nothing separates you from that because it's who you are. Okay. Let's see what we have here. All right. I'm seeing like a thunderstorm here with lightning. Okay. It's actually interesting. I see a whirling dervish, which, Rumi is a Sufi mystic, and whirling dervishes are like ecstatic dancers. So we have thunderstorm with lightning. We have a whirling dervish. And we have an arch. An arch. Okay. So when we're talking about this peace, this love that passes all understanding, we get the feeling of true safety. Like, I feel like as humans, a lot of times we go through phases and we just never feel safe, right? We just feel uncomfortable. We get comfortable with the discomfort, right? And so with these images, so first the thunderstorm, that's the whole idea that, like, look at this. This one is 8 of Pentacles. Okay. Building connections. So with that thunderstorm, the idea that even in the terrifying things, this love lives, right? A storm can be dangerous. A storm doesn't inherently, it's not trying to hurt you, right? It's just being a storm. And you wait for the storm to pass. And then, you pick up the pieces if you need to. And life itself is this storm that keeps coming and going and coming and going. And when we fight it, when we rage against it, instead of accepting, then it causes a lot of extra pain and suffering, right? So change what you can. Obviously, when I'm not saying bend over to the will of tyrants or anything. No, don't do that. I'm saying when there are certain things in life that are out of our control, and all we can do is the best that we can do. And just remember that we are surrounded by love, by protection, that we are that love. So even when things feel way out of our control, there's an even greater love than anything that's happening now that is enveloping you, me, all of us. And before I get to the whirling dervish, I want to say this archway imagery. It makes me think of like, how do I say, like a transition, right? And, you know, it even almost looks like an archway here, but this archway is like a heart, you know, a transition from understanding, your understanding of love. The Akashic Records are saying, now is your time. You're growing in love, but in real love. You've been fed such an illusion about what love means. All of us have, that love is something dangerous, that love is something unstable, that love is something that overtakes you. This is usually nervous system activation. This is usually, you know, saying that love is difficult or love is hard. It's just not true. Love is free. Love doesn't cling. Love doesn't clasp. Love is open arms. Love is open hands. And you know this, and you're feeling this. But dang it, you do not want to let go of that old dream because you were taught that since you were a kid, and it feels comfortable, and it feels familiar, and it feels like what it's supposed to be like, and it feels like that if you let go of that and make room for this larger love, this agape, that you're going to be losing something. But believe me, you're not. You are going to be so ecstatic. And that's what it is. It's ecstatic love. Living your life with ecstatic passion. It reminds me of the Neville Goddard thing. I've mentioned it a few times, but he says, like, go through your life and being like, isn't it wonderful? Oh my gosh. And just let that feeling of ecstaticness about your life rise in you. Even if it's only a little bit, because sometimes we just feel bad and we can't raise our vibration that high. That's okay. But even if you can just raise it a little bit for a short period of time. So, and just say things like, I am so ecstatic about where my life is and where I'm going. Because you're building up that frequency, you're building up that alignment. And that's the archway. That's the door you go through from survival mode to thriving mode, from victimhood to autonomy. And the whirling dervish, you know, spinning, spinning, spinning. The idea of being so in love with love, not with human idea of romantic love that we saw in movies where people hate each other and then somehow that chemistry becomes love. And then you're like, what happens the next year? They probably hate each other. Anyway, being in love with life, even the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Being in love with the experience of being alive. And this is pretty intense, high level. I mean, we're talking Akashic Records here, so it's easy to misunderstand this lesson. It's easy to misunderstand, so I'm going to try to be very careful the way that I word it. So please do not take this as saying that I condone bad things, that bad people, you know, it's good that bad things happen to people. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this: all things are in the all. All things are like different lights through the same prism. You're one light from the prism. I'm one light from the prism. This cup is one light from the prism. And so when you read the Sufi mystic poets like Rumi and Hafez, you see things that make you uncomfortable because they say things about how dance, you know, when you're broken, dance when you're alive, dance when you're awake, dance when you're asleep, dance when you're dance in your own blood, dance in the, you know, obviously this is a metaphor. I hate that I have to give disclaimers, but I just want to make sure. It's not literal, but what it means is that every experience is an experience, right? Every experience is an experience. And you're meant to live those experiences, right? You're meant to live them. You're not meant to, we've got a lot of major arcana energy going on here. Wow, even with the devil here. Queen of Swords. Ace of Cups. So this juxtaposition here, the falling of the Tower juxtaposed against the Fool, the feeling of walking through this doorway from this heavier, lower frequency idea of love into this openness. I have this meditation I do, and it says, my heart is an open, empty space. And I started doing it because, you know, in Buddhism and in different paths, you hear this phrase all the time about like how love is emptiness. In the Heart Sutra, they say form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And it sounds like a contradiction, but when you really follow the spiritual path and you're able to get out of these old mindsets and cut through it and kind of start feeling anew, it becomes a whole new level of peace and understanding. And you don't want to let go of these things, but the way that love, see all these hearts here, the way that love was taught you is a house of cards. It's not built on a strong foundation. And when this shatters, you have to turn to your own light with this Hermit energy. And I like this too because we have this like Nautilus type shell. And of course the Nautilus is the golden ratio, or the Fibonacci sequence, which is basically the physics. It's like the code of the universe. So you're getting a very direct message about the universe, breaking free from this, breaking out of it's so easy to be limited, to feel limited in what love means when society tries to paint love as a very specific thing. And that very specific thing has a lot to do with control. That very specific thing has a lot to do with ownership, with possession. Love is the opposite of possession. When you truly love, your arms should be open. Your hands should be open. And that's why I know that these Akashic Records readings are not for everybody. They're powerful. The whirling dervish spins because they're so high on love. They're so high on life. They want to scream. They want to shout. It's divine madness. But they're not really mad. You know, there's this saying I saw that says something like, the person who was dancing looked crazy to the other people who couldn't hear the music. And, you know, I'm not talking about, you know, some people will have, obviously, there's real mental illness, there's real things, and people should get help for that. I'm talking about something very specific, which is sometimes the spiritual awakening process, the opening, cracking open of love. When you finally see the world clearly, you finally feel love clearly, you'll feel very isolated from other people because they're still standing on this house of cards, calling it real love. But you've built a stronger foundation. You've walked through that door and you've started dancing. You've been through the tower. You've been through the storm. Ooh. So yeah, this is what's coming up for you. You're probably already in this transition. The foundations have been laid. The old house of cards has crumbled. This is very deep work. This is very deep work because when you get in touch with that, people think that like you get to feel that, but it's almost like you get to feel it and then it just stays there forever, right? And then you're just like high on love for the rest of your life. But we're humans and we keep diving back into the physical. We have to go to work. We have to do this. We have to go get groceries. You know, like one of my Cosmic Jester cards says, it's like the mysteries of the universe exist alongside your laundry. So what happens is we can get bogged down by mundane life, and we're still more elevated in our hearts and we still feel more love and things like that. But we have to be easy on ourselves and not feel like we lost anything when we are, because remember the tree of life, which is the circulatory system of the soul. And at the top is Keter, which is the unmanifest. So that's like the divine, right? And at the bottom is Malkut, which is kingdom, which is this world. People think, oh, my goal is to climb up the tree to get to the divine. But that's not the goal. You manifested here. This is where you're supposed to be right now. The idea is circulating. So you have the divine and you bring the divine down to the earth in the physical form. Then you have the physical form and you take that to the divine, and it's a circulatory system. It's not a ladder. So in those moments when you have felt this divine love, when you have danced in the light of agape, and then you return to life, it feels like you lost something, but you didn't. It's still there. It just might not seem as intense all the time, right? And then if you get into a cycle of chasing it, then you lose the plot too, right? That loses the whole point. Legacy lives on. See, it's still there. No matter what happens. In the peaceful moments of reading, it's still there. The legacy lives on. So even when it doesn't feel as miraculous, because, you know, we get numb to things. Like, I'm looking out the window right now and I see all these beautiful trees. The sun is setting and I see them every single day. And I have to purposefully stop and remember that every one of those trees, in my view right here of whatever, however many 100 square feet I can see with my eyes, are a billion miracles. A billion miracles with billions of years of history that made it possible for this tree to be here, for me to be sitting here, for these cards to be here, for you to be there. This entire process is glorious, is a miracle. And you can't always stay in that state, but just, you know, making sure that you're remembering that, rather than feeling disappointed that you can't stay in that elevated state 24/7, right? Just be like, oh yeah, let me just take a moment and remember how miraculous it all is. I mean, think about it. Isn't it weird that we're in these bodies and then they have some kind of weird self-healing mechanism, and there are plants and we eat them? And I mean, when you really stop to think, like, anything becomes the most fascinating story if you're looking at it through the right eyes. And that is your invitation today, beloved. The Akashic Records remind you that you are cloaked in wonder, that the Christ consciousness, that the endless love, the agape, is flowing through you and around you at all times, even in the simplest things. So don't worry, beloved. The legacy lives on. You've got this. And thank you so much for being here. And I feel so light, like I'm going to float away on a cloud after that reading. So thank you for letting me be here with you. And I will talk to you soon.